I did two things today. I built this awesome Super Saiyan 5 Goku statue, and I saw Total Recall. And if I didn't build this statue, the day was sucked a lot. I don't know if you guys have seen the original Total Recall, but I did see it. My girlfriend and I decided to watch that movie first 2 weeks ago, the original with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it was a pretty cool movie. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't seen the original Total Recall,
I'm a secret agent! I have guns!
You are not going to understand half of what's going on in the new movie. They decided to pick and choose the things that they wanted to take from the original movie and put it in the new one, and then not explain to you why they're putting it there. For example, all of a sudden, this chick walks out with 3 boobs.
I like to touch boobies, especially when there's one in the middle.
Oh. And you're like, where is this coming from? In the original movie, it's because she was a mutant, and everyone was all messed up. She just happened to be blessed with an okay body and a 3rd boobie right in the middle. Everybody else had like deformed eyeballs and heads and hands and like little baby heads growing out of their bellies. So first off, in the original movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger is dreaming that he's walking on Mars. He is on Mars. The whole point of that movie is to go to Mars and get stuff done. I don't want to ruin that movie for you, but I'm kind of anyway, so whatever. Anyways, he goes to Mars, and in his dream, he's with some chick, and he falls off a cliff, and there's no atmosphere on Mars, and he breaks his helmet, and he starts gasping for breath, and he, the Arnold Schwarzenegger, and it's like his tongue is sticking out of his mouth, and his eyes are popping, because that's what happens on Mars, apparently, or in space in general. So in this movie, they go, oh, we're going to make this movie different. We're going to have Colin Farrell wake up and talk about this dream he just had with his make-believe girlfriend, because that's what the movie's about, who happens to be Kate Beckinsale, which we'll get into that in a second. And we'll make him not tell her that he had a dream. Well, he'll tell her that he had a dream, but we'll make it so that he doesn't say that he had a dream with another woman, because we're going to be different. The whole point of the movie is that he's been brainwashed and then gets re-brainwashed with recall, remembers he's a secret agent and has to save the world, and so his wife was put there to basically play a role because she's an IFB agent or whatever they wanted to call her. So he sees all these advertisements for recall and decides that he wants to do it, even though his friend told him not to do it, and his friend's a secret agent. They show you that later on in the movie. So he goes there, he's like, oh, so-and-so sent me, I want to be a secret agent. And so as they're putting him in the chair, they're asking him questions, and they're like, so, do you have any secret memories that we should know about before we give you another secret memory so you can enjoy this experience? And he's like, no, obviously I don't have any secret memories, because well, how would he know he has them if they've been deleted? Exactly my point. So they put him in the chair, and they put this thing in his arm, like this goo, whatever, and they're like, okay, we're going to perform a safety check, but because we're short on time for this movie, we're going to do the safety check as we're injecting you with the serum that could possibly implode your brain. And so, all of a sudden, the serum's going in, and they're like doing this computer stuff, and they're like, you lied to us, you are a secret agent. And then all of a sudden, cops run in and kill everyone, and then he's up in the air with his hands up, and then the serum kind of jogged his memory around. Like now he remembers that he can kill 30 people at once. So that's what he does. Kills all the people, kills all the cops, runs home. All of a sudden now his wife turns into Celine from friggin' Underworld. And Victor's in this movie, by the way, too. I don't know his real name, but he's a good actor. So now the movie, once again, is Celine trying to kill this dude, and then she's also trying to kill Victor. So I guess she hasn't killed Victor enough times. So he goes home, his wife tries to kill him, he runs through, the town, which, first of all, the movie, the way they change it, in the original movie, they go to Mars, and that's where everything happens, and there's no atmosphere there, so they're, stuck inside. In this movie, they're on Earth, but basically the entire Earth is uninhabitable. It's called the no zone because of, biological warfare, and the only places you can live is England and Australia. And the way that people go from Australia, which is called the colony, to England, which is, I forget what they call it because it doesn't matter, is through this tunnel system they call the Fall. And basically it's this big train, I guess we'll call it, that everyone gets into, and it goes through the center of the Earth in 17 minutes, comes out on the other side, and basically the poor people live in the colony, and they go to England to work. Whatever. And so apparently now in the future, after everyone dies and only England and Australia is inhabitable, Australia becomes Chinatown. Because there's no white people there. It's all Asians. And I no offense, Asians, but it's Australia. You'd be dead because you're from China, Japan, that whole area. So there's no Aussies in Australia. For whatever reason, during the biological warfare that happened, they went into Australia, killed everyone, and then transported Chinatown to Australia. So now the chase is on. Celine's trying to track down Colin Farrell and kill him.
Get this phone out of my hand! I'm going to stab it with glass!
He's running everywhere. Basically, the only thing Colin Farrell had to do to prepare for this role in the movie is a lot of cardio.
Pull it out!
Who puts a phone in your hand? That's the beginning part of this movie. There's phones in their hands, and they push the button, and they're like this, talking to themselves. And they put their hand on glass, and then they could do video call for whatever reason, which was kind of cool. So he has to go now from the colony to England, where all the rich white people live. Yeah, it's rich white people in the colony in Asian town in Australia. In the original movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger gets this box of stuff that he sent himself because he knew he was going to be brainwashed. And one of the things in Total Recall, the original, is he had this wristwatch that he could make a hologram out of. And then when he goes from Earth to Mars, when he's going through security check, he puts on this helmet, and he's like a really old lady, and he can only say 3 words. And they say, "Why are you here?" And he says, "Work." "How long are you staying?" 2 weeks. And then the only other thing he can say is "thank you." That's all the head's programmed to say in the voice of the old lady.
Get out! Leave me alone! I want to go to Mars and be happy and frolic on the Martian land with other mutants!
Colin Farrell arrives, and when he got his box of stuff, there was a collar. And I knew it was some sort of hologram thing, but I know what was going to happen. So apparently, that hologram had a bunch of different identities on it, so he put it on his neck, and he's walking through, and he's this Asian guy, but they keep the camera on this older woman the whole time to make you think that that's Colin Farrell because of the other movie. Like I said, they randomly put stuff in this movie that makes absolutely no sense. And so, the Asian guy, him as the Asian guy, is getting scanned, and he says the 3 words. He goes, 2 weeks for work, and then he says, "thank you." But because the guy asked him, "what are you doing here again?" and he said, "thank you," that causes this whole scene to happen because then his hologram head starts messing up. But if you never saw the original movie, you don't know why he's only saying 2 weeks and "thank you," and then his head explodes. Alright, so basically after that goes down, everyone in the audience is confused. Colin Farrell is now running again, and he goes onto the street, and all of a sudden there's flying cars, and these cars are flying with magnetic things underneath. They're futuristic cars, they look super cool, and he's rolling around on the street because the magnetic cars are flying over him, and a car, he tries to get his gun, and then a car flies over it, and the gun flips up because the car's magnetic, which makes no sense because why didn't Colin Farrell's belt buckle and all the stuff he had on him fly up and hit the car too? Whatever, it's a movie. So 4 or 5 cars pass by, all these cop cars are coming. Now all of a sudden, the chick that was in his dreams, which is actually his girlfriend, she's in the Resistance, pulls over and picks him up. She knew exactly where he was at the right minute. It was just absolutely ridiculous. So they get in these cars, and they're having this car chase or whatever, and the cars, it was a pretty cool scene. The cars are flying around, on this road, and then they go off to the side of the road, go down, and then go under the road, and now all of a sudden the magnets are reversing their polarity, and the car's flying underneath the road, and all this crap goes down, and a helicopter's about to kill them, so Colin Farrell's like, "we're getting out of here," and he punches through the car and grabs the thing that controls the magnetic thing inside, and then the car drops. And then just before they hit the ground, which is I guess where all the normal people live, he turns the car back on, and the car, the magnets kicked in, and they were about to land on top of a car, and it made the magnetic force made the car basically go flat, and they crushed it, and then they crashed and got out of the car, which makes no sense because Colin Farrell, in order to drop from above, had to rip out the controls that controlled the magnetic part of the car. Ah! And then he drops down, and all of a sudden it works again. I didn't see him put it back in. Did you see him put it back in?
No.
My girlfriend didn't see him put it back in. He didn't put it back in. And apparently, if you live really high, you get the cool cars, the cool futuristic cars, but when you drop below, all of a sudden you're driving a Mini Cooper. Because that's what was there, a van and a Mini Cooper. In the original Total Recall movie, they're trying to convince him that he's still in recall. And so they bring in this doctor who comes in and says "Oh, you've been lobotomized. The only way you can come back is to kill yourself or take this blue pill," whatever the hell they say to him. So in how Arnold Schwarzenegger figured out that they were BSing him is Arnold says, well, why don't I just kill you?
I'm a secret agent! I have guns! I'll kill you!
And then the doctor goes, well, you can kill me, but I mean, I'll just come back to life because I'm in your head right now. And then Arnold notices, like, sweat beating down, the doctor's forehead, which obviously means, he knows he was bullshitting and he was scared he was going to get killed. So Arnold kills him because that's what Terminator does. He kills everybody. In this movie, they made, like, no relevance as to what was going on, and his friend from work was trying to convince him to kill his girlfriend because if he killed his girlfriend, it would make him wake up, which is just dumb. And so what made his final decision to not kill his girlfriend was he saw a tear come out of her eye because she was so emotional because she thought that she was going to lose him, and so he ends up killing the dude instead, which makes absolutely no sense because if the dude's telling him it's all in his head and this random chick that's in his head sheds a tear, why would that prompt him to kill his friend who said he only came inside of the recall thing to help him get out? All right, so I want to wrap this movie review up real quick because I could go on about a lot of different scenes and probably being a little bit of a jerk just because that's the mood I am after seeing this movie. So they go into the no zone to see Victor, and I'm only calling him Victor because I don't know his real name, Victor from Underworld. So they go to the no zone. In the no zone, they have to wear gas masks because you just can't breathe the air there because it's toxic and you will die, okay? So they go see Victor, like all this stuff goes down, and when they try to read his mind, Colin Farrell's mind, to get this code to deactivate all these robotic police officers, that was the whole point of the movie, was these robotic police officers going to the colony and killing everyone to make more space so other people could live there. So as they're extracting this, that was basically what set off this like tracking device so the bad guys could find out where their secret hideout was and go kill everyone. And so they're in this like church, okay? And all the dudes, like the cops who are the bad guys, are jumping through windows and shooting everyone, killing everyone.
I'm a secret agent! I have guns!
No one seems to have to put a gas mask back on. All the windows are broken, and no one has to put on a gas mask. Also, too, you would think that if you have a secret lair, you would have some sort of defense system in place. I mean, they took helicopters to get there. You would see helicopters landing in a small area if there's only a few entrances to get into your secret hideout. Victor gets killed, he gets shot. Alright, so Victor's dead, now the main bad guy leaves, and obviously he leaves 5 troops there to hold Colin Farrell down. And basically, Colin Farrell was a double agent, but he didn't know he was because of the whole recall thing. And so they're going to inject him with the serum to give his memories back so he could work for the bad guy again. But obviously he didn't want to because memories he has right now, he's a good guy. And so in the beginning of the movie, when all this stuff starts going down, he has his phone in his hand, and it goes off, and this dude calls him who's like one of his friends, and he's like, you told me that if you went back on the grid, which the grid is basically his hand phone working, to tell you where the secret box is. And so he goes to this box, and all this stuff goes down, but he sees the guy's face, and he hears the guy's name, and so one of the troops tells his friend to tie him up, and when his friend walks over, he's like in a chair like this with his arms down. His friend puts on the buckle, but then has this like laser, and he lasers off the buckle so he can move his right hand, right? So as soon the first chance Colin Farrell gets to get out of his seat, he gets up and he kicks his friend in the knee, like breaks his kneecap. You see him fall to the ground. He punches a bunch of dudes in the face. He takes a gun. He shoots a bunch of dudes. His friend's over here on the ground shooting this way. And then all of a sudden, Colin Farrell decides to run over to this pillar over here to this guy who's down because he's been shot. And all of a sudden, that's his friend who helped him get out of the chair, whose kneecap he just busted. It made absolutely no sense, once again. So he gets out of there, he's trying to find his girlfriend, he goes back to that train because the bad guy put all his, super police officer robot things inside the train to go to Australia and kill all the Asian town people. And so he gets on the train, he's trying to save everyone, he gets the girl, and now they know he's on the train with the girl, so all the troops go to try to kill him, and so he's trapped in this room, okay? Now, once again, this train goes from one side of the earth to the other. I don't know the exact distance from England to Australia, but we'll lowball it. We'll say it's 4,000 miles, okay? The earth diameter directly across is 8,000. We'll even cut that in half. To go 4,000 miles in 17 minutes, you're going about 14,000 miles an hour. But that didn't stop Colin Farrell from popping the escape hatch and going outside of this train as it's traveling 14,000 miles an hour and climbing up a ladder to go to the top of the thing. you would be dead. I know it's a movie, but that is stupid, okay? The only total recall that happened is me having to recall my insanity when I got out of this movie and try to get my money back. Which I actually didn't have to do because I had free tickets. Whatever, okay? Still had to sit there for a couple hours. I could have been home looking at that. Don't see this movie.